I never meant for him to hear it. It was one of those careless, wine-fueled moments when you think you're being funny, when you forget that words can cut just as deep as silence. Evan had gone upstairs to take a work call, and I was in the living room with his best friend, Dylan. We were flipping through old vacation photos on the TV, laughing over sunburns, bad haircuts, and those clumsy camping trips that had turned into inside jokes over the years. The three of us had been inseparable once. There was never anything between Dylan and me. Not really. Just the easy familiarity that comes from too many shared weekends and stories. And then I said it. I don't even know why. Maybe Dylan teased me about being bossy. Maybe I wanted to sound clever. Whatever it was, I laughed and said, "Oh, please, Dylan knows my body better than I do." The second the words left my mouth, the air shifted. Dylan froze. His eyes flicked past me toward the stairs. And then I heard it. Evan's voice. Really? I turned and saw him standing there, phone still in his hand, face unreadable. Dylan muttered something about needing air and slipped out before I could speak. Evan didn't yell. He didn't even look angry. That was worse. He just stared at me, as if trying to replay the past few years in his mind, searching for signs he might have missed. I didn't mean it like that. I said, quickly, it was a joke, a stupid joke. His voice was quiet, even too calm. You think that's funny? You think that's something a wife should say about her husband's best friend? My throat tightened. I reached for him, but he stepped back. The space between us wasn't far, but it felt like 1,000 miles. That night, he didn't sleep in our bed. I heard him pacing downstairs, drawers opening and closing, the faint sound of him scrolling through his phone. Maybe looking for proof that I hadn't given him reason to doubt me. By morning, he was gone. A single note sat on the counter. "We'll talk later." The silence that followed was unbearable. Even the walls seemed to hum with tension. When Dylan texted asking if I was okay, I didn't respond. What could I possibly say? That my husband thought I betrayed him because of the joke that sounded too real? That maybe, in a way, he wasn't entirely wrong to feel that way? Because the truth I didn't want to face was that something had been wrong for a while. Evan and I had been drifting. The connection we once had was fading under layers of work stress, long hours, and unspoken resentment. And when Dylan noticed things, my new haircut, my tired eyes, the way I covered nerves with sarcasm, it filled a space Evan had stopped seeing. Nothing ever happened. But the attention felt like oxygen, and I'd grown addicted to it. Now, sitting in the empty kitchen, my own voice echoed in my head. Dylan knows my body better than I do. The more I replayed it, the uglier it sounded. I could imagine Evan hearing it without context, imagining scenes that never existed. And worst of all, I couldn't even blame him for doing so. Days passed. Evan stayed away. His texts were short, clinical. "I'll grab my things later. Don't wait up." Each one colder than the last. I kept trying to find the right words. But every apology I rehearsed felt smaller than the hurt I'd caused. Because beneath the guilt was something even uglier, fear. Not of losing him, but of realizing that maybe on some level I'd wanted to hurt him, to make him feel the sting of neglect I'd been feeling for months. When he finally came back, it was a Wednesday evening. No warning, just the sound of his key turning in the lock. He walked in quietly, dropped his bag, took off his jacket, and went straight to the fridge. He didn't ask if I wanted anything like he used to, just grabbed a bottle of water and leaned against the counter. "Where's Dylan?" he asked. The question cut through the silence like a blade. "He hasn't been here," I said softly. "I haven't spoken to him." Evan nodded once. "Good. I told him not to come around anymore." His tone was calm, but every word was heavy. He wasn't looking for a fight. He was drawing a boundary. "I didn't cheat on you," I whispered. He exhaled slowly, eyes on the floor. "You didn't have to. The way you said it, it was enough. You don't make jokes like that unless you've thought about them first." That hit harder than anything else. Because he was right. I had thought about it. Not doing anything, but wondering, comparing, imagining the what-ifs I never said aloud. It was a mistake. I said weakly, just a stupid joke. He looked up then, eyes red-rimmed from sleepless nights. "You know what hurt the most? It wasn't the words. It was that they sounded believable. When you said it, I didn't think that's a lie. I thought, of course she did. He walked past me, up the stairs. I followed, heart pounding. Half of his side of the closet was already empty. You're leaving? I asked. He didn't turn around. I don't know. I just can't stay here right now. I wanted to stop him, to grab his hand, to remind him of everything we used to be. But all I could manage was a trembling. I miss you. He paused, halfway through zipping his suitcase. Then maybe, he said quietly, you should have told me that instead of him. He left that night. Weeks blurred together. Dylan moved away. Evan didn't block me, but he didn't reach out either. We were married in name only. Two strangers orbiting around a memory. Then one Sunday morning, a package arrived. Inside was a photo frame. It was a picture of the three of us at the lake years ago. Evan, Dylan, and me mid-laugh, drenched from splashing water. On the back, in Evan's handwriting, were the words, "Every joke has a little truth in it. That's what makes it funny and dangerous." I didn't cry right away. It took hours for it to sink in, because he wasn't just talking about that one night. He was talking about everything that had gone unsaid between us. The quiet resentments, the small betrayals of attention, the moments when we'd stopped showing up for each other. That evening, I went through our old messages, the ones where I'd stopped replying, the ones where he'd tried to reach out, and I'd brushed them off. Somewhere in those tiny silences, we'd both stopped trying. I wrote him a letter, not to beg, not to fix, but to finally tell the truth. I told him the joke was never about Dylan. It was about me, about how invisible I'd felt, how unwanted, how desperate I was to be noticed, even if it meant saying something cruel. I never sent it. Instead, I folded it neatly, slipped it behind the photo in that same frame, and left it by his doorstep one evening. Weeks later, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It was a photo of the picture from the lake. Below it, he'd written, "Got your letter. I believe you. I'm not ready yet, but I believe you." It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet, but it was something real. And for the first time in months, I allowed myself to hope that maybe not every mistake ends in ruin, that sometimes the words that break us can still lead us back to the truth, if we're brave enough to face what made us say them in the first place.